Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Crafty Concepts with Erin. Today I'm going to share 3 cards with you, actually 4, I have a bonus card, but we're primarily focusing on die cuts. I have this stamp set here and everything shaded in this blue-green color has a coordinating thin cut die. This is the Sweet Fruit stamp. You can see it has layers, so we have the base and then you stamp the second layer over the top, making it very realistic and detailed. For my color palette today, I've selected Canary, Black, and Avocado. And for those that don't know, Close to My Heart's cardstock is two-toned, so you get a deeper shade on the opposite side. So it's like 2-in-1, which is super awesome. I'm going to use the lemon image today, so I'm going to go ahead and stamp a bunch of those and just have them ready for all of our projects. I have Canary and Sundance, and I already have the base layer loaded in my MISTI. Now you do not need a MISTI to do this, but in order to line these images up, I would have to lean over and therefore my head would be in your way and you wouldn't be able to see what I'm doing, so I opted for the MISTI just for the sake of the video. We're going to use 5 of these lemon images on our projects today, so I'm going through in assembly line fashion and I'm stamping all of the base layer in the Canary yellow ink. I love layering stamps. I think they're so cool. They just look so realistic and you can add that, different tones and shades to give it depth. And you'll see here in just a second how cool this looks. So I've switched to the Sundance ink and I have swapped my stamp out for the second stamped image and voila. How cool is that? Just really makes this look dimensional. So again, I'm going to go through again in that same assembly line fashion and just stamp up the second layer to all of our lemon images. You know, just by itself, the base layer even looks cool. I also did this little half a lemon, which comes from the same stamp set, this one here, and I did it in the same color scheme. Along with our lemon images, we need some foliage. So I've gone to this Daisy Meadows card making stamp and I'm pulling this little leaf image off. I've already got that mounted on a block and we're going to use avocado ink. I have a strip of white paper and I'm going to stamp several of these because again, for all of our card projects today, we're going to need a total of 5 of these leaves. So we'll just go right down the row here. I love that lovely avocado color, such a pretty shade of green. I'm going to get these all die cut off camera and voila, we have these fun embellishments to create with. So I'm going to scoot these aside and we'll get started on the first card. I have the stitched rectangle dies. You can see there's 3 sizes that nest. We'll need the larger 2. And we also have these fancy bracket dies. There's only 2 of those, but they also nest. And we're going to use both of those for today's projects. I need a piece of black cardstock. I'm going to go ahead and die cut each of these shapes. And let me get these out of the way here. So there is our fancy bracket. And for this one, we have this panel here, and then there's a frame inside. So just take your, paper piercer or weeding tool, poke that out and hang on to it because we're going to use the frame also. You can see all the pieces have that stitching detail around the edge, which gives a really nice finishing look. So we'll use these 2 and put this aside for another project. I have the White Cards and Envelopes value pack. And then this little pattern paper is in Canary, and that is from the Happiness Lives Here. So you can also, this is from the Daisy Meadows collection. Really any Canary would work. Here's another one with polka dots. That's from last catalog cycle's mix-ins. Any of the pattern papers in this Canary tone will work perfectly. So this one, again, the Happiness Lives Here, this is still currently available and I'll leave that linked below. So since our frame is going around the edge, I'm going to lift this up just a little bit and, I want more of that canary yellow showing. So I just raised it up so the frame wouldn't be covering too much of it. And I'm going to use the liquid glue, go around the outside. This is kind of the easiest way to do this. You can apply it directly to the frame as well, but I find this a little bit easier. So go around the outside edge and then we can slide this frame into place. And since we're using liquid glue, it gives us a little bit of time and flexibility to make sure everything is lined up perfectly. So we'll get our corners squared up and that looks good. We can set this fancy bracket piece that we die cut right in the center here. So we're actually going to use a die cut for our sentiment as well, but let's go ahead and get our little lemon embellishments arranged here. So I'm going to create a little cluster in the upper right hand corner, but let's go ahead and make that sentiment before we tear those down. So this is a thanks die. Here's what it looks like completed in black and white. There's a shadow and then the letters. So I am going to use avocado and white daisy. I'll use avocado for the shadow and white daisy for the inner portion. Now, you saw me using this white glue for my card layers, but for little things like letters, I like to use this clear Tombow liquid glue. It dries clear, it goes on thinner, and I just really like it. I mean, you could use the white glue for this, but I think that this one works better and is less messy. So for these tiny little embellishments, it's my go-to. Using these little craft tweezers is super helpful also. So we'll just get this lined up and then we'll go across, repeating the process with all of our letters here. And then I like to put a block on top just to make sure everything dries flat for just like a minute or so. I really like this die because it's big and it's bold for card making, and who doesn't need the sentiment thanks, right? And I love how we can customize this to fit our project just by switching up the cardstock colors. Just kind of a classic. It's never going to go out of style. Do you know what I mean? So we've got our letters in place. I will set a block on that. I paused the camera, so it was actually on there for about a minute. And I'm going to switch back to the white glue and adhere this sentiment to our card front. I like to use this one over larger areas because it dries with a flex to it and doesn't make your project stiff or misshapen in any way. So we'll get this centered. I want to make sure it's got the, margins of the black on either side are even. And we can just tuck these leaves right under the top lemon here. I'm going to adhere this one directly to the card. And then for our second lemon, I'm going to use some dimensional foam and pop that little guy up. So we have our non-stick micro tip scissors, and I'm going to cut 2 pieces. I've got some glue on my hand, so everything's sticking to my hand, but I'll go ahead and get this set down. I'm going to overlap it just a bit. And our first card is just about done here. Let me lift that up for a closer look. Isn't that vibrant and fun? I just really love those lemon images. I think they're awesome. So for our second card, I'm going to do a little stenciling. So I'm putting down my all-purpose mat so we have a nice clean surface. I have my black soot distress oxide. And this stencils from the core catalog. A lot of people cut the individual squares, which is a great idea. I've just kept it together. We're going to use this inner stitched panel from our medium stitched rectangle and then stencil these lines right across the white daisy cardstock. So I would recommend using some temporary adhesive. I just thought I could hold mine. I mean, and it worked, but I edited out some of the painful parts you guys didn't have to watch. Should have kept it in. You'd all got a good laugh. But yeah, you got to hold it really tight or things will shift around on you. So a little removable adhesive is always a good idea. So I'm just using my little ink blending tool and going across with the black soot ink, and I'm just going to stencil on some lines for a classic black and white stripe paper. You could do this with regular black ink as well. I just have the, the Distress Oxide, and I thought I'd use it. So how fun is that? So we have a black stitched rectangle and then that same pattern paper in Canary from the Happiness Lives Here collection. And I'm going to go ahead and put this right across the bottom of the card. And then I thought it'd be fun to add a little sparkle. So I have this black shimmer trim, and I'm just going to trim off a piece that'll span the width of this card. And then I'm going to go ahead and dovetail the ends just for a little bit of added interest. So we'll just snip, snip, and dovetail these. So this shimmer trim is adhesive back, so that is, really super handy and convenient. I find it easiest to get the adhesive off by holding it up and just use your fingernail on the very tip there, and it usually comes off pretty easily. So we will just go ahead and connect our 2 layers here. Or I should say adhere where the layers connect. And then we can use our little striped panel, and we're going to put that right in the center here. I love the bold contrast of this color palette, that vibrant yellow and the classic black and white. It's just kind of like, pop, here I am. I love it. So very similar to card one, we're going to put our lemons up in the upper corner, only this time I have two of the leaves rather than one. So we're going to repeat the process, layering the lemon one on the card front, and then we'll pop the other one up. But our second leaf is going to come out the bottom here, just for some added greenery. And then we'll use that foam tape and pop this little guy up for some dimension. So we're also going to use a die cut sentiment for this card because we really didn't leave a whole lot of places to stamp a sentiment. So I have this cherry blossom stamp set and there's the word hello. I'm going to stamp that on a piece of scrap white daisy paper in the avocado ink. Now this does not have a coordinating die, but this is quick and easy to fussy cut, especially if you have a really sharp, good pair of scissors. You can cut this out in no time and have a die cut word. So I say this often, just, move the paper rather than moving your scissors. I mean, you're going to move them a little bit, but most of the movement and turning is in the paper, and that just helps you get those nice rounded corners pretty effortlessly. So I just try to make sure I have even margins of white, and that makes it look more like a die cut word rather than something you just cut out. So I thought it'd be fun to pop this up. We'll use the thinner 3D foam and we can just cut these little pieces to fit, and we'll make sure to get all the little areas. I kind of made that too long, so I'm just trimming off the top there so it doesn't show. And then we'll get a really tiny piece for the back of our H. Let's go ahead and peel these off. And I thought this was just kind of a classic hello card, just a little note to brighten someone's day. So card number 2 needs a base, of course. So we have another pre-scored white note card from the White Cards and Envelopes value pack. We'll use a little of the glue, making sure to get it all the way to the corners. And then I like to do a squiggle across the middle for good measure. And then we'll line this up here. I always like having the white border around my card. I think it's just a nice clean look. So card number 2 is finished. Let me hold this one up for a closer look. Isn't that fun? So for card number 3, I think you're going to enjoy this one just as much. I'm going to start with my card base, and then we have that same stitched black rectangle. I'm going to go ahead, I don't know what I did with my glue, so I just grabbed my tape runner, which works well also. And we'll get this tacked down here. So now I have that same canary paper that we've used in the other 2 cards. I'm going to run that right across the center, making sure that's nice and straight. Sometimes if you lift it up and it isn't straight, so I'm going to lift that up just a smidge and realign that. Okay, so now we can add our fancy stitched bracket and our lemon pieces. But before, because there's bumps in my cardstock there, I'm going to stamp it before I adhere it. This says simply thankful for you. This one says miles apart but still in my heart. There's all sorts of fun sentiments. I'm going to use just our classic black ink here, and I will get this good and inky, stamp it on the upper portion of our fancy stitched bracket. Now you'll see in just a second when I hold this up, it has kind of an outline font to it. It looks nice, but I want it to have a little bit more oomph and just be a little bit more bold. So I'm taking my journaling pen and I'm just coloring in those shadowed lines, which is kind of cool because you could do this with different colors and really, make it match your project. So you can see it just looks more bold after coloring that in with the black journaling pen. So we'll get this adhered down. And don't forget, I have one more card to share with you after we create this one. So for this one, I'm going to put my lemons kind of clustered together on the bottom. So I still like that greenery poking out, and we'll just get this layered here. This one's going to go right to the card front. And then for just to switch things up a little bit, I have the lemon slice that we'll use on this card. I think when it's cut in half like this, if you just switched it to more of an orangey palette, it could work as an orange as well. Maybe not the whole piece, but the one cut in half definitely could. So we'll get our little dimensional foam on here, pop this guy up, and I felt like it needed a little something. So from that same cherry blossom stamp, You could see the different cherry blossom images here. I stamped and colored a little bit of yellow in the center. So I did look it up, and it turns out that lemon blossoms look similar to cherry blossoms, so I thought this would work. So let's go ahead and check out all the cards again, and I'll show you the bonus card. So here's our first thank you card or thanks card, our hello card with that stenciled background, and then our third card. For our last card, it's very similar to the third one, but I created a fun background just by doing some random stamping. You could see I added the shimmer trim down on the lower portion of the card, but I took this leaf image from the stamp set, again, used the avocado ink, and just added the stamping to the background for a fun look. I hope you guys are inspired. You can see still shots of these cards over on my Instagram or Facebook page, and you can find those links in the description box below. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.